If you feel like you're stuck in your head, spiraling, always second guessing yourself, it's not because you're broken or something is inherently wrong with you. You are simply stuck in a mental, energetic loop that you just need to break free from. I actually even gave myself an aneurysm from overthinking. I'm not kidding. When I was 18 years old, I had an aneurysm. This is the physical danger of overthinking and giving yourself a mental overload. Some common ways that it can manifest are anxiety, crippling panic attacks, nervous systems that feel wired and you can't sleep. You become addicted to certain substances that you think are helping you, but they're actually further harming your natural cycles. If all of this sounds familiar, I know because I am an overthinker myself. That's why in today's video, I want to give you the ways in which I have moved out of this mental overwhelm of the overthinking cycle and allowed myself to start making valuable progress in life, feeling more calm, more fulfilled, more productive. The list goes on. Hola, my beautiful souls. Welcome back or welcome to my channel, where we merge the cosmos with everything self-development to become our highest selves every day. If that sounds like something you're interested in, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. That way you don't miss future videos like this one. You can also follow me outside of YouTube on social media platforms. The links will be provided below, as well as download my free astrology cheat sheet, which will make astrology so much more digestible for you. We tend to overthink because we have this illusion of control that comes from it. We tend to think that the more that we're going to think of all the possible branches and all the possible outcomes and everything of a situation, we think that we are preparing ourselves for the worst or for every possible outcome. And because of that, we go into situations thinking that we either know everything, we have everything figured out. If you're anything like me, again, this is something I'm guilty of doing many times in the past and even now, is I will think, you know what, it would be kind of nice to go to that nature trail, but it's like an hour away, right? So then my brain starts trying to prepare for my trip to this nature trail that's an hour away. And I'm like,
okay, well, my tire could go flat. So then what do I do if my tire's gonna go flat? And then I need to make sure I have full gas, but then, oh my gosh, but my car needs an oil change. What if I get to the trail and it's actually closed and the business hours were wrong online?
And I start doing intense research to try and see how I can avoid every possible negative outcome that's going to come about when I go on this journey. And that is just not realistic. It gives you an illusion of safety and control. And I'm not saying to never be prepared, but there's a difference between preparation and overthinking yourself into a mental oblivion that stagnates you and you go into a freeze response. Because guess what happens? Once I have mentally exhausted myself thinking about what this trip to this nature trail could actually entail, I drop it. I end up not going and I end up maybe just staying in bed and watching TV or something. That is what happens when we overthink. But we are addicted to it because the more we overthink, the more we think we're prepared. But in reality, the more we overthink, the less that we act upon the things that matter. And therefore, the less we trust ourselves, because we actually build trust with ourselves through experience. And if we are overthinking instead of acting all the time, then we are not gaining experience and not actually gaining trust and knowledge within ourselves. With all that being said, the first significant shift you're going to make as an overthinker is to expose yourself to experience and act on things rather than just overthinking and stagnating. I wanted to bring up a study from the book Atomic Habits. If you're not aware of this book, I'm sure you are, but if you're not, I highly recommend reading it. This book changed my life, especially when it comes to actually taking action and making significant, consistent progress, especially as an overthinker. I have the study from Atomic Habits jotted down here, and I want to just read it off because I don't want to butcher anything. So, on the first day of class, Jerry Ullsman, a professor at the University of Florida, divided his film photography students into two groups. Everyone on the left side of the classroom, he explained, would be in the quantity group. They would be graded solely on the amount of work that they produced. On the final day of class, he would tally the number of photos submitted by each student. 100 photos would rate an A, 90 photos a B, 80 photos a C, and so on. Meanwhile, everyone on the right side of the room would be in the quality group. They would be graded only on the excellence of their work. They would only need to produce one photo during the semester, but to get an A, it had to be a nearly perfect image. At the end of the term, he was surprised to find that all the best photos were produced by the quantity group. All the best photos were produced by the quantity group. During the semester, these students were busy taking photos, experimenting with composition and lighting, testing out various methods in the darkroom, and learning from their mistakes. In the process of creating hundreds of photos, they honed their skills. Meanwhile, the quality group sat around speculating about perfection, and in the end, they had little to show for their efforts other than unverified theories and one mediocre photo. That study changed my life and it always stuck with me. We always hear quality over quantity. And whereas there is some truth to that, I think it's actually not that black and white, because the problem is you have to actually experience something in order to learn, grow, and experiment. You can read all the books you want. You can watch all the documentaries you want. You can go to all the classes you want. But if you are not actually going out and actively experiencing things, you are never going to learn from it and actually gain value. Again, that also builds your confidence. It builds your trust with yourself. And it also shows you that you can show up and you don't have to be perfect. You disprove these narratives that you make up in your head by actively doing things that negate that narrative. So, as an overthinker, a lot of times the reason you overthink is because you believe something has to be perfect before it comes into fruition. So, you try to take every path you can to be as prepared as possible to make something as perfect as possible before it is released. But you are not able to actually learn from that. The more that you expose yourself to an experience, the faster you will learn and the faster you will build your skill set. It is not about thinking that the moment you do something, it has to be perfect. You look at all your favorite creators, for example, you go back to their earliest videos, and their earliest videos do look terrible. They're terrible quality, terrible audio. Usually the creator is very awkward in front of the camera. They're probably talking about things or doing things that are not exciting.
Hello YouTubers, so today I'm going to be talking about two products, two lip products to be precise, and these are products that are very expensive, but they've caused a lot of hype right now and a lot of people are wondering, is this worth my money?
So you have to start from somewhere. You have to start from somewhere. And the beauty of that is that you get to learn. The more that you expose yourself to something, the more that you learn and the less afraid of it you become. Exposure therapy is truly such a healing process for someone who is an overthinker. And a lot of times, if you're an overthinker, by association, you are a perfectionist as well. So this is a way to break out of that perfectionism that is keeping you stagnant and keeping you from acting on the things that matter to you, and therefore keeping you from making fulfilling progress in your life. Next, you need to actively and regularly get out of your head and into your body. Why? Because when we have so much mental energy and cluster going on and it feels overloaded, more than ever, we need to physically move our energy. The amount of times that I have felt so imprisoned in my own head and then gone outside and taken a walk or done some yoga stretches, it heals that overthinking, because it's easy for us as overthinkers to get caught in this mental spiral. And the way that I look at our thoughts is our thoughts are like a big tumbleweed. They accumulate and accumulate inside of our head, and it's just rolling around in our head, becoming bigger, more knotted, more clustered. And if we don't ever take the time to do things to untangle that tumbleweed, then we're going to go insane. We need to regularly and consistently clear our mental space. That mental energy is energy just like everything else. And in order to keep that energy fluidly moving, we need to move the body, because energy that isn't moved just becomes mental noise that is overwhelming to our nervous system. So really tapping into the body through practices that soothe your nervous system are going to be key. One of my favorites has been a presence meditation. It's a meditation that brings your presence back in from any mental or physical stimuli in your external environment. As you may or may not know, things like our phones, TV, etc., are things that definitely perpetuate the cycle of overthinking and often damages our nervous system even more because we are constantly in this like twitchy, fast-paced energy where we want to scroll, scroll, scroll. We want to consume, consume, consume. And it's important that we train our nervous systems to detach from that physical, that external stimuli that keeps our systems wired and therefore keeps our brains wired. So, one way to really do this is to sit down, I would say, for starting out at least 10 minutes, because I feel like 5 minutes isn't enough, but 10 minutes is like a nice sweet spot where it's not too long, but it's enough to start actually recognizing and becoming aware of your attachment to the external stimuli. So when you're sitting there meditating, you can have maybe some certain frequency music playing or maybe nothing at all. It's up to you. But I like having some type of like high frequency music playing. And you'll sit there and you'll focus on your breath. And if you want, you can look up breathwork meditation so you can learn how to get more in touch with your breath and to slow it down. But you're going to pay attention to your breath. And as you sit there, at first, you're going to be aware of like, okay, I'm consciously trying to meditate right now. I am consciously meditating. But then you're going to notice that your brain starts to drift and your brain starts to think,
what am I going to have for breakfast? I need to have breakfast. I want my coffee. I want to go and pick up my coffee right now. I want to pick up my phone right now. I'm missing out on emails and notifications.
You'll start to become aware of those addictions and attachments that your nervous system has because it wants to feel the comfort and the dopamine it mistakenly gets from these external stimuli. But these external stimuli do not actually bring you comfort. They do not actually bring you valuable dopamine. They bring you nervous system agitation. And they wire your brain in a way that is distracted and heavily reliant on something fast-paced to keep it entertained, and that's unhealthy for overthinkers. It's unhealthy for you if you tend to have anxiety, panic attacks, etc., especially that stem from overthinking. Having so much mental stimuli from the external environment can be very unhealthy for you. Doing this type of meditation regularly helps you build that muscle where you bring your attention away from the external stimuli and back to yourself. So once you start noticing your mind strain and your body getting kind of antsy because it wants to reach for your phone or it wants to go get that coffee or whatever the case may be, you pull your awareness back to yourself and you go, okay, nope, stopping that thought and pulling my awareness, focusing on the breath again. It's like doing bicep curls, but for your mind and for your nervous system. So the more that you do that, the more that you pull your awareness back to your body and to your presence rather than the external stimuli, the more you're building that muscle over time. Another practice that helps take me out of my overthinking is definitely walking, taking good walks outside, especially when I first wake up, because as an overthinker and someone who's very mentally wired, I tend to wake up and immediately start thinking of everything I need to do. So if I take a walk shortly after waking up, that really helps slow me down and bring me back into the physical, and it gives me a healthy dopamine hit that helps me feel more calm and inspired for the rest of the day. And in the evening, it also helps wind me down. So our mind can be very tired and very overwhelmed from the day, whatever we experienced. Taking a walk in the evening also helps bring me out of that back into the body so I can rest better. Now you need to actively practice surrender because control is an illusion. You never have control. That is a complete illusion. You can have preparation, but never control. The way that I've actively done this for myself in order to stop overcomplicating things under my illusion of self-control and ask how I can start small. So for example, I tend to go on these mental spirals. And if you're anything like me, I'm sure you understand. But I tend to go on these mental spirals where, say I woke up a little later than I had anticipated and I had like a schedule set up for my day. And I know if I don't complete certain things by a certain time, I may be behind on that schedule and behind on that day. So there was a day recently, and this has happened more than once, but this is a recent example where I woke up a little later than I wanted to. And I had planned to take like a 30-minute walk that morning to get plenty of steps in, to kind of get my muscles warm, to get a little sweat in. And I really wanted to do that. But I woke up later, I was running behind on my morning, and if I don't take a walk in the morning before I sit down and do hours of computer work, then I literally know I feel terrible. I know that I feel so lethargic, I feel lazy, I feel unmotivated, I think less clearly, I work much better, and I get a much better flow going when I have taken a walk before I have sat down to do work. And I know that to be true. I know how much it positively impacts me. But I was still considering not going on this walk because I started going on a downward mental spiral of what would happen. I'm like,
okay, if I take this 30-minute walk right now, then that's going to put me 30 minutes behind here, and I'm not going to get to a cafe to do computer work until 1 p.m., and then I'm only going to have 2 hours to do this.
Oh my gosh, it went into a whole spiral. It went into a whole downward spiral where I almost didn't go on the walk. When I've started doing that, I've gotten myself into the habit, and this has taken practice, but I've got myself into the habit of recognizing and becoming aware of those spirals, because your brain starts to branch into all the outcomes and possibilities and problems and whatever. I stop it. I go, stop, Marisa. Like, I literally, this is the narrative in my head. I say, Marisa, stop. I pull myself back in and I say, let's start at square one. Square one is you want to take a walk. You can't take a 30-minute walk. That is actually unrealistic for your schedule. But you are spending so much time sitting here overthinking. I wasted like 10 minutes already overthinking, and I do this a lot. I'll start overthinking about something, and then I'll just sit here, like lean on my bed, researching stuff, looking at stuff, passing the time, procrastinating, because I'm like, I don't know what to do. It sounds so ironic, but I'm sure you can relate. And if you can relate, let me know down below. But you end up wasting time in stagnation because of overthinking stagnation, when you could have been using that time to just act on the thing that you're overthinking about. So I said, you know what, Marisa, stop. You have 10 good minutes. It will take you 10 minutes to do 1 lap around your apartment complex, and you know you'll get around 1,000 steps from doing that. That is better than nothing, so do it. Another thing that we tend to think as overthinkers is we have an all or nothing mentality. It's like, oh, well, if I can't do the full 30 minutes, then I guess I'm not doing anything. No. It's better to pull yourself back in and go, okay, start small. What can I do? Stop overcomplicating it. Start small. What can I do? And I found that what I could do is do 1 lap around my complex, get straight in my car, head to the cafe. And that alone made me feel so much better. I was so happy after I took that lap around my complex and got plenty of sun, got a little bit of a sweat, and gone to my car, went straight to the cafe. I was so happy that I did that. And I could have gone for a slightly longer walk if I didn't spend so much time overthinking. So stop overcomplicating things under the illusion of control and start acting on it. Pull yourself back in when you're spiraling and go, stop overcomplicating this. How can I start small? And start from there and put 1 foot in front of the other. Overthinking and stopping yourself from overthinking and actually acting on things starts with putting 1 foot in front of the other, knowing that it's okay to start in micro steps. That is totally okay, as long as you're moving forward rather than staying in your head. If you're a fellow overthinker and or perfectionist, be sure to leave a comment down below and let me know how you've struggled with overthinking. If any of these resonated with you, if you can relate to anything, I love to chat with you guys. And be sure before you go to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss future videos like this one, and so I know that you like this video so I make more videos like this one. But until next time, adios.